Within the camp, the group of unfamiliar visitors clearly caught the attention of many of the students. However, few dared to approach them, as the murderous aura radiating from these individuals made the young students uneasy. People from Lu domain? Mu Chen furrowed his brow as he looked at the unfamiliar group. What were they doing in the northern spirit wilderness? Master Emo seemed equally puzzled. He walked toward the group, where a middle-aged man was quickly approaching with a smile, cupping his hands in greeting. You must be Master Emo, am I correct? I am Lu Ming from Lu domain. I hope you don't mind my sudden visit and any disturbances caused. Oh, so you're Lu Ming, the third master of Lu domain, Master Emo said with a faint smile upon hearing the introduction. You're too kind, Master Emo. That's just a nickname people foolishly gave me. The middle-aged man quickly shook his head, his attitude quite humble. Lu Ming? The third master of Lu domain? Mu Chen, who was standing behind Master Emo, took another careful look at the man. He appeared somewhat thin, his hands resembling eagle claws, dry but strong. His face, similarly thin, wore a constant smile. Mu Chen was no stranger to the name Lu Ming. He had heard it many times from his father and Uncle Zhou. Lu Ming was the younger brother of Lu Qingtian, the lord of Lu domain, and was considered his right-hand man. With cultivation at the late spirit wheel stage, Lu Ming was just a step away from reaching the divine soul stage. In the northern spirit realm, he was quite a prominent figure. And what brings you here? Master Emo asked, his expression slightly displeased as he looked at Lu Ming's group, which seemed completely out of place in the camp. This was a place for students to practice, and with their strong murderous aura, they could disturb the students' cultivation. Master Emo, my third uncle is on a mission. Seeing that Lu Yang and I are here, he asked us to come over and take a look. We mean no disturbance. Lu Ming's nephew, Lu Mubai, smiled and spoke up from behind him. A mission? Lu Ming sighed and explained, our Lu domain was transporting something important when it was intercepted by the Blood Butcher group. Although we managed to encircle and eliminate the group, their leader, Blood Butcher, managed to escape. We tracked him all the way here to the northern spirit wilderness, and now we've come to capture him. Blood Butcher? At the mention of the name, Master Emo furrowed his brow. Blood Butcher was notorious in the northern spirit realm for his cruelty, having bloodied his hands countless times. If such a dangerous criminal was in the northern spirit wilderness, it would pose a serious threat to the students here as well. Other more disciplined adventurer groups and squads would avoid crossing lines with the students, but such ruthless criminals wouldn't hesitate. If they angered them, they would kill without a second thought. Heh, indeed, Lu Ming laughed. That's why I wanted to warn you, Master Emo, to keep an eye on the students. We wouldn't want anything bad to happen. His insanity is known to all. Standing beside Master Emo, Mu Chen felt somewhat surprised. He had heard of the Blood Butcher group, and while their infamy was certainly well-earned, these criminals were no fools. How daring could they be to target Lu domain? Clearly, what they had stolen was of great importance. Or else why would Lu domain go to such lengths, not only wiping out the Blood Butcher group, but also chasing them all the way to this place? Third Master Lu, what exactly did the Blood Butcher group steal from Lu domain that you had to mobilize so many people? Mu Chen's eyes flashed, and he suddenly asked, feigning innocence. The question caught Lu Ming off guard for a moment. He then chuckled awkwardly and replied, Little brother, such matters are not for public discussion. Mu Chen smiled faintly, already understanding in his heart just how valuable what the Blood Butcher group had stolen must be to Lu domain. Mu Chen, this has nothing to do with your Mu domain. Lu Mubai gave Mu Chen a quick glance and spoke. Mu Chen? Hearing that name, Lu Ming froze for a moment. His eyes narrowed as he looked at Mu Chen. So you're Mu Feng's son, the only person in the northern spirit realm to obtain the spirit road qualification, Mu Chen? Mu Chen nodded with a smile. The rivalry between Lu domain and Mu domain was no secret, so Lu Ming's reaction didn't surprise him. Heh, I've heard of you, Lu Ming said with a faint smile. I originally thought the spirit road qualification would go to Mubai. Thank you for the reminder about blood slaughter. We'll keep an eye on it, Master Emo said, frowning when he heard the sharp tone in Lu Ming's words. Lu Ming was after all a well-known figure in the northern spirit realm, Yet he was speaking so impolitely to a young man. Master Mo, we wish to rest in the camp for the night. I hope you can agree. Hee. Although Master Shi already gave his approval, I think it's necessary for you to agree as well. Of course, our people will take over guard duty tonight, and I assure you there won't be any problems, Lu Ming quickly replied. Master Mo paused for a moment. Since Master Shi had already agreed, he didn't want to lose face. He nodded and arranged for Lu Ming and the others to settle in. I heard from Chen Tong that you were planning to kill him? Mu Chun, who was about to turn away, was suddenly interrupted by Lu Mubai's calm voice. Mu Chen glanced at Lu Mubai and smiled. I don't believe in sparing troublemakers. If you ever feel like it, you can come yourself. But if those lackeys come again, I wouldn't mind teaching them a lesson. Lu Mubai's gaze turned cold as he stared at Mu Chun, while Mu Chun continued to smile, meeting his eyes. If the chance arises, I'll personally test the strength of someone who has obtained the Spirit Road qualification. I hope you won't disappoint me, Lu Mubai said, his gaze lingering on Mu Chun before he turned and left without another word. Mu Chun smiled and turned toward the camp where the Eastern Academy students were. As he walked, Tang Xun'er, who had been watching, pouted. What's there to be proud of about those people from Lu Domain? Losing their things and still having the nerve to act so smug. She had been observing the exchange between Lu Ming and Lu Mubai, and naturally, she was displeased by their sharp words. A person's bad mood needs to be vented somehow, Mu Chun chuckled, then waved to Tan Qingshan. After he walked over, Mu Chun quietly placed a jade spirit fruit in his hand. This is for your efforts in passing on the message. Mu Chun patted Tan Qingshan, who was stunned, on the shoulder and smiled. Is this really for me? Tan Qingshan's face reddened with excitement. Earlier, Mo Ling and the others had told him about the valley, and Tan Qingshan had been envious when he saw they each had a jade spirit fruit. He understood that they had earned it through their efforts, and he couldn't help but feel frustrated about his own lack of strength, which had prevented him from going along. His family wasn't wealthy enough to afford a jade spirit fruit, so receiving one now from Mu Chun would save him a lot of training time. Without you bringing the news, we wouldn't have had the confidence to take on the task, Mu Chun smiled. Thank you, Brother Mu, Tan Qingshan said gratefully, clutching the jade spirit fruit. Train hard, Mu Chun nodded, then walked toward his tent. He still had 5 jade spirit fruits in his possession, and with such ample preparation, he should be able to condense the second sinister death seal this time. Just thinking about it made even Mu Chin's usually composed heart stir with a slight excitement. As nightfall descended over the northern spirit wilderness, the camp once again became brightly lit and bustling with activity. However, Mu Chun stayed in his tent, sitting cross-legged in quiet meditation. His eyes were closed as he circulated the great pagoda art, a faint, dark glow flickering across his body. He continued his peaceful cultivation for about half an hour before suddenly opening his eyes. He took out a round jade spirit fruit from his robe. In the faint firelight, the fruit's surface gleamed brightly, making it look incredibly tempting. Mu Chun licked his lips, then opened his mouth and popped the jade spirit fruit into it. Now, it was finally time to condense the second sinister death seal. The next day, the camp became lively again. Many young men and women gathered excitedly, discussing the harvest of their teams from the previous day. The girls' clear, melodic laughter echoed throughout the camp, filling the air with youthful energy. The people from Lu Domain, led by Lu Ming, left the camp early in the morning, likely to search for the traces of blood slaughter. Without their presence, the atmosphere in the camp relaxed significantly. Teacher Mo and Master She didn't halt their cultivation because of the blood butcher incident. However, they did remind the students not to venture too deep and to avoid spreading out too much. Let's go. Time to move, Mu Chun called out to Tang Xun'er, waving her over. The girl trotted lightly to his side, her graceful and delicate figure drawing the eyes of many young men. They stared unabashedly before casting envious glances at Mu Chun. Teaming up with Tang Xun'er was truly a stroke of luck. Mu Chun, heading out for cultivation? Haha, don't lose to us. Zhang Li and Tang Yong greeted them with wide grins. You think you can win? Keep dreaming. Tang Xun'er retorted playfully. Haha, Mu Chun, if you need anything, just call us. We're not afraid of trouble, Jiangli laughed. Mo Ling and the other Eastern Academy students who had joined Mu Chen on yesterday's mission nodded in agreement. Mu Chen smiled and waved at them before leading Tang Xun'er out of the camp, heading toward the northern spirit wilderness. Back at the camp, Lu Mubai watched them leave, a faint but chilling glint flashing in his eyes. Bang! In the forest, Mu Chen darted forward and struck out with his palm. Dark spiritual energy surged from his hand, releasing a powerful force that blasted a mid-spirit movement stage, low-grade spirit beast several meters away. The beast let out a pitiful cry before collapsing to the ground. Tang Xun'er, following behind, was momentarily stunned. Although Mu Chen had been capable of defeating such spirit beasts yesterday, he hadn't done it with such overwhelming force. Your strength? Tang Xun'er asked, unable to hide her surprise. Last night, with the help of the Jade Spirit Fruit, I managed to break through to the late spirit movement stage, Mu Chen replied with a smile as he bent down to extract the spirit beast's essence. Freak! Tang Xun'er muttered under her breath, then lifted her chin proudly. I'll reach the late spirit movement stage in 5 days too. Impressive, Mu Chen said with a thumbs up before heading deeper into the forest. Let's go. You'll need to start fighting too. No slacking off. It won't help your cultivation. Got it. Tang Xun'er responded sweetly, hurrying to catch up with a bright smile. To the west of the northern spirit wilderness, more than a dozen figures were cautiously searching the area. Lu Mubai was among them, and with his status and strength, he was clearly qualified to lead the team. From Lu Ming, he had learned how important the item stolen by the Blood Butcher was to the Lu domain. They had paid a great price to acquire it, so no matter what, they had to capture the Blood Butcher and reclaim it. Young Master, we detected traces of the Blood Butcher earlier, but that guy is extremely cunning and managed to shake off one of our squads, a Lu domain expert reported behind Lu Mubai. Keep searching, Lu Mubai ordered with a nod. Yes, sir. The squad immediately responded, expanding their search range. The search continued for about half an hour. Just as Lu Mubai frowned in frustration, a buzzing signal came from ahead. It was a sign from their Lu domain forces. We found him. Move. Lu Mubai's eyes lit up. With a wave of his hand, he shot forward. As he sped through the forest, a bloodied figure stumbled toward him. It was one of their skilled Lu domain men. Where's the Blood Butcher? Lu Mubai asked urgently. Young Master, the Blood Butcher fled north. Should we notify Third Master immediately? The expert replied hurriedly. North. Lu Mubai's eyes flickered slightly at the news. Instead of giving the order, he waved his hand. Wait. Big brother? Why wait? Lu Yang asked, confused. If we delay, won't he get away? He won't. The Blood Butcher is already cornered. He's a trapped beast now. He's as good as dead. But before he dies, it wouldn't hurt to let him vent his frustration on some unlucky folks, Lu Mubai said with a cold smile. Big brother, you mean? Lu Yang's eyes widened. Mu Chen is in that direction, Lu Mubai replied quietly. Oh. Lu Yang's eyes gleamed with excitement, but his brow soon furrowed. Bloodslaughter has a weakness for beautiful women. With Tang Xun'er, such a little beauty, by Mu Chen's side, he wouldn't be able to resist. And knowing Mu Chen's nature, he probably wouldn't just abandon Tang Xun'er and run away, Lu Mubai said with a faint smile, though there was a chilling edge to it. Haha, as expected, Big Brother has thought of everything. If Mu Chen dies at Bloodslaughter's hands, no one can say anything. He'd only have himself to blame. Lu Yang said excitedly. He knew just how ruthless Bloodslaughter was. If Mu Chen fell into his hands, it would be worse than death. Lu Mubai only smiled slightly, then turned his gaze to the north, murmuring, I originally thought of handling this myself, but it seems you truly don't have that fortune anymore. Hey Mu Chen, hurry up and make a move. This beast is at the late spirit movement stage. I can't handle it. In the forest, Tang Xun'er was dodging a ferocious spirit beast that kept charging at her. Her black horse tail swayed gracefully as she cried out in alarm from time to time. Standing on a branch, Mu Chen watched the graceful figure below, who was constantly evading the spirit beast. He couldn't help but smile. He then tapped his toes lightly, swooping down like a wild goose. His right hand clenched into a fist, gathering dark black light in his palm, which transformed into a black spirit seal. Filthy beast, don't get too cocky. Chen lunged forward with a light laugh, and the black spirit seal carried an incredible force as it slammed into the spirit beast with tremendous impact. Bang! The spirit beast roared in anger, its massive hooves clashing with Chen's ferocious punch, sending shockwaves through the air. The surrounding dead leaves were swept clean, and the beast let out a low growl as it was forcefully pushed back by Chen's strike. Whoosh! As the beast staggered back, Chen swiftly pivoted and charged again. With a flip of his hand, a dagger appeared, wrapped in spiritual energy, shining with a sharp arc as he viciously thrust it into the beast's throat. Boom! Hot blood splashed out, and the beast collapsed to the ground with a loud thud, causing the earth to tremble. Chen nimbly leaped down, smiling as he wiped the blood from his dagger. His youthful figure appeared particularly handsome under the gentle sunlight filtering through the forest. Such an annoying guy. He has no idea how to pity delicate women. He's made me run for my life all this time. Xun'er grumbled as she walked over to the spirit beast, pulled out a short sword, and pierced its skull to extract the spirit beast's essence, all while continuing to complain about Chen's actions. Chen couldn't help but laugh, just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. His body shot forward, grabbing Xun'er and rolling them both to the ground. At the same time, a blood-red shadow suddenly rushed out from the forest. The hand that had been reaching for Xun'er missed entirely, and the person let out a surprised gasp. Chen quickly rolled with Xun'er and sprang to his feet. His eyes narrowed in caution as he gazed at the shadow that had appeared. His pupils contracted as he saw a figure standing over the fallen spirit beast. The figure was dressed in a blood-red robe, his face dark and menacing, with narrow, cunning eyes. Heh, not bad, kid. You've got some skills, the blood-red shadow sneered, its gaze shifting from Chen to the young woman behind him. The girl had a slender, soft figure, a full chest, and a tiny, delicate waist. Most notably, the youthful, energetic aura she exuded made him salivate with desire. I never expected to come across such a gem here, the blood-red shadow grinned, its eyes fixed on Xun'er as if he wanted to devour her whole. The girl shuddered and hid behind Chen. Kid, hand her over to me, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, you'll get a taste of my methods, the blood-red shadow said, his eyes glinting like the fangs of a venomous snake. Chen's gaze was locked onto the blood-red shadow, his hand holding Xun'er trembling slightly as a drop of sweat formed in his palm. If he guessed right, this man must be the leader of the Blood Slaughter group, Blood Slaughter, who was being hunted by Lu Ming and the others. He hadn't expected to run into such a notorious criminal here. This was a real problem. In the open space of the forest, three figures faced off. The atmosphere was so oppressive it felt as though it could suffocate someone. Chen also kept his gaze fixed warily on him, his spiritual energy surging wildly within his body. The blood slaughter before him gave off an extremely dangerous aura, a level of danger that far surpassed even the fire spirit ape king he encountered yesterday. Whether in terms of strength or intelligence, the blood slaughter was in no way comparable to the fire spirit ape king. The latter had barely reached the late spirit wheel stage, while the blood slaughter was on the verge of stepping into the divine soul stage. Kid, I don't have much time to waste with these little games. You have 10 seconds to decide. Hand her over, and I'll spare your life, the blood slaughter said with a broad smile. Don't you fear provoking the two divine soul stage mentors here by attacking us? Chen slowly asked. Your time's running out, the blood slaughter grinned, his teeth glistening white, making it a chilling sight. Chen took a deep breath, turned his head to look at Xun'er, and then grabbed her smooth, fair wrist, preparing to push her toward the blood slaughter. Wise choice, kid. The blood slaughter's smile grew even more radiant upon seeing this. Chen summoned his strength in both arms, then took a sudden step forward, turning swiftly and slapping Xun'er on the shoulder. His immense power sent her flying. If you don't want to get me killed, just leave. After sending Tang Xun'er flying with a backhanded strike, Mu Chen's low voice rang out. Tang Xun'er landed in the forest, gazing at the tall figure of the young man in the distance. Her eyes were misty with unshed tears. She forcibly suppressed the extreme foolishness and her desire not to leave him behind and turned to run. You think you can escape? The bloodslaughter looked coldly at the scene. Two spirit movement stage kids. Did they still naively believe they could outrun him? Kid, soon you'll understand what it feels like to wish you were dead. The bloodslaughter grinned ominously, then shot forward, not toward Mu Chen, but straight at Tang Xun'er, who was fleeing toward the edge of the forest. Mu Chen saw this and charged forward, but the bloodslaughter didn't even bother with him. Spirit-breaking bead. Just as the bloodslaughter ignored Mu Chen's interception, he suddenly clenched his palm. A bright light appeared in his hand, followed by a furious shout. Spirit-breaking bead? Upon hearing the name, the bloodslaughter's heart tightened. Although Mu Chen's strength was weak, if he truly possessed the spirit-breaking bead, it could hinder him. If allowed to strike, the bead could injure him, something the bloodslaughter, currently in a desperate situation, could not afford to endure. His gaze flickered, and ultimately, he stopped. Looking at the black light hurtling toward him, he gave a low shout and unleashed his mighty spiritual energy, enveloping his body completely. Crack! Just as the black light was about to collide with his body, it suddenly exploded. To his surprise, the expected violent spiritual energy didn't come. Instead, a foul stench filled the air as a sticky substance shot out from the black light, covering the bloodslaughter's body. The sudden turn of events caused the bloodslaughter to freeze for a moment. Then he looked down at his body, now drenched in blood. The blood was unusually thick and had a pungent odor. Now that it was splattered all over him, he appeared extremely disheveled. You dare play me? The bloodslaughter's lips twitched, his eyes flashing with a cold, menacing light, locking his gaze on Mu Chen. Mu Chen, however, ignored him and quickly retreated. Kid, since you're so eager for her to escape, I won't let that happen. The bloodslaughter, enraged by Mu Chen's actions, was still a cruel and calculating person. He immediately sneered coldly. Trash, you want this? Mu Chen, seeing that the bloodslaughter restrained his anger and was still trying to capture Tang Xun'er, smiled and reached into his robe, pulling out a jade-like, round fruit. A strong wave of spiritual energy emanated from it. Jade spirit fruit? The bloodslaughter's pupils contracted slightly upon seeing the jade spirit fruit, and a greedy glint flickered in his eyes. He had already reached the peak of the spirit wheel stage, just one step away from breaking through to the divine soul stage. If he could obtain the jade spirit fruit, he could make a final push. If he succeeded in his breakthrough, he could easily escape from Lu Ming's grasp. Only then could the current predicament truly be resolved. Well, I didn't expect you, kid. Bloodslaughter grinned, his eyes instantly turning cold. With a sudden twist of his body, he shot toward Mu Chen like a predator closing in on its prey. Compared to the prospect of breaking through to the divine soul stage, giving up a little beauty, at least for now, was a worthwhile trade. Mu Chen had anticipated his reaction. Spiritual energy surged within him as he wrapped it around his legs, pushing his speed to the limit. He tore through the forest with reckless abandon, racing deeper into its depths. With Tang Xun'er's speed, she would need some time to reach the camp and alert Teacher Imo. In the meantime, Mu Chen had to ensure that he survived against bloodslaughter, whose strength had reached the peak of the late spirit wheel stage. For someone of bloodslaughter's caliber, killing him would be effortless. You really think you can escape, boy? Bloodslaughter sneered as he pursued the fleeing figure. His eerie, mocking laughter echoed through the forest. All this just to buy time for a little girl? I have to admit, I almost respect that. How about this? Hand over the jade spirit fruit, and I'll spare your life. Just break your limbs instead. Sounds like a fair deal, doesn't it? Mu Chen didn't look back. His voice, laced with cold amusement, drifted through the wind. Worry about yourself, you rabid dog. Bloodslaughter's eyes darkened. You don't know what's good for you. With an explosive surge of spiritual energy, his speed spiked, rapidly closing the gap between them. Mu Chen felt the chilling presence bearing down on him, and his heart sank slightly. He had underestimated Blood Slaughter's power. But now was no time for doubt. A single moment of hesitation could cost him his life. Gritting his teeth, he roared inwardly, his spiritual energy coursing wildly through his meridians. Deep within his body, something stirred. Tiny points of light that had remained hidden until now began to glow once more. One by one, they emerged, forming a mysterious pattern. If Mu Chen had the luxury of examining them, he would have noticed that they vaguely resembled a towering pagoda. Boom! Mu Chen had no time to ponder the phenomenon. He only felt his spiritual energy surge dramatically, fueling his speed to an unprecedented level. He shot forward like an arrow loosed from a bow, widening the gap between himself and Blood Slaughter. What? How is this brat so fast? Blood Slaughter was momentarily stunned before narrowing his eyes. Without hesitation, he pushed his spiritual energy even further and resumed his relentless pursuit. However, with his keen perception, he quickly discerned the truth. Mu Chen's sudden burst of speed was temporary. It was only a matter of time before he exhausted himself. Through the dense forest, the two figures streaked like twin shadows, leaving a wake of swirling dead leaves in their path. As they neared the depths of the northern spirit wilderness, Blood Slaughter's patience began to fray. This region harbored numerous dangerous spirit beasts, and lingering too long invited unnecessary trouble. Enough games, boy. Blood Slaughter clenched his teeth, no longer willing to conserve his strength. He slammed a foot into the ground, his body sinking low like a hunting predator. A violent burst of spiritual energy surged from his limbs, momentarily distorting into the form of a massive leopard. In the next instant, he transformed into a streaking blur, rocketing toward Mu Chen at an astonishing speed. Die! In mere seconds, he had closed the distance, his fist crashing forward with terrifying force. The violent surge of spiritual energy behind the strike was enough to obliterate any spirit movement stage cultivator on impact. Mu Chen felt the overwhelming pressure behind him. If he took this blow head-on, he would be crippled at best, more likely dead. His eyes flickered with madness. He glanced ahead, calculating his surroundings. Then, without hesitation, he spun around, his palm opening as a dark radiance flickered to life. A mysterious black parchment suddenly materialized in his grasp. Boom! Blood Slaughter's punch struck the black parchment with full force. A deep, resonant thud echoed through the air. The sheer force of the impact sent Mu Chen flying, blood spraying from his lips. The parchment was forcibly repelled back into his body, while he himself was launched into the distance, crashing into the dense foliage. Blood Slaughter's eyes flashed with surprise. Mu Chen had actually survived his full-powered strike. However, his shock lasted only a moment before he darted into the forest, his gaze locking onto Mu Chen, who lay sprawled beneath a towering tree. Blood Slaughter stared coldly at Mu Chen, who was lying on the ground, and let out a sinister laugh. Not needed. However, despite the icy smile, Mu Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and a sarcastic grin appeared on his youthful, handsome face. Now it's your turn to run, you bastard. Blood Slaughter's pupils contracted slightly upon hearing this, and just as he was about to speak, a furious roar erupted from the depths of the forest. A silver streak shot out like lightning, and the wild spiritual energy stirred up violent gusts of wind in the forest. Silverhorn Drake Leopard? Seeing the magnificent spirit beast, Blood Slaughter's expression changed immediately. He glared viciously at Mu Chen and sneered, "What a vicious little brat. You want to die with me, huh? But you're still too green. As soon as I step out of its territory, this spirit beast won't chase after me. But you'll become its meal." Yet, hearing those words, the sarcasm on Mu Chen's face only deepened. "You've stained yourself with the blood of its cub. Do you really think it'll let you go so easily?" At these words, Blood Slaughter's gaze snapped downward, seeing the sticky blood that covered his body. His face paled in realization. It was then that he understood. This seemingly naive boy had been setting him up from the very beginning. pretending to throw the spirit-breaking bead, but secretly hiding a bottle of blood and orchestrating a planned escape. Staring at the boy's mocking expression, a chill ran down Blood Slaughter's spine. Could a reckless young man really pull off something so cunning? Chen, noticing Blood Slaughter's changed expression, smiled lightly. He glanced at the silver-horned drake leopard, which radiated a murderous intent, and exhaled softly. Big brother dragon leopard, it's your turn again. Be my weapon one more time? Roar. In the forest, which was filled with violent spiritual energy, the silver-horned drake leopard's eyes glowed red as it stared at the blood-soaked Blood Slaughter. It growled lowly, its hatred and killing intent palpable. From the blood on the human's body, it could smell the scent of its cub's blood. This detestable human, had he harmed its cub? Although high-level spirit beasts have far greater intelligence than low-level ones, they still couldn't compare to humans. In its fury, the beast just wanted to rip apart anything that carried the scent of its cub. You bastard! Blood Slaughter, locked in the silver-horned drake leopard's gaze, felt a chill run through him. He shot a venomous glare at Chen. Who would have thought that this seemingly easy prey, a boy at the late spirit movement stage, would be so crafty? His lustful nature had led him into this mess. Realizing how bad his situation was, he had hoped to vent his frustrations before things got worse. Earlier, he had seen a beautiful girl and was momentarily distracted, never imagining that a fleeting desire would drag him into such trouble. I will never let you go. Blood Slaughter hissed ominously, then suddenly erupted with immense spiritual energy. With a push of his foot, he shot backward, vanishing into the dense trees, clearly intending to flee. Roar. But the enraged silver-horned drake leopard wasn't about to let him escape easily. Its powerful body crouched down, and in the next instant, it shot forward like a streak of silver light. The silver-horned drake leopard was as strong as a divine soul stage expert, and its speed surpassed that of Blood Slaughter. In the blink of an eye, it was right behind him. The violent surge of spiritual energy made Blood Slaughter's expression shift. Spirit Leopard Slaughter. But Blood Slaughter was no simple opponent. His body twisted midair, and with a low shout, spiritual energy surged, forming a spirit leopard around him. He swung his fist, merging man and beast as they violently struck the silver-horned drake leopard. The spirit leopard enveloping Blood Slaughter collided fiercely with the silver streak, creating a deafening boom. The violent shockwave scattered, snapping trees in all directions. Bang! As the spiritual energy dissipated, Blood Slaughter's form was sent hurtling backward, letting out a painful scream as he crashed to the ground. His right arm was drenched in blood, and a gaping hole appeared in his palm, blood pouring out. Chen raised an eyebrow upon seeing this. He had clearly witnessed how the fire spirit ape king was instantly killed by the silver-horned drake leopard yesterday, but today, Blood Slaughter had only lost an arm. This guy's strength was indeed impressive. The silver-horned drake leopard landed on the ground, its beastly eyes coldly fixed on Blood Slaughter. Without any hesitation, its lithe body shot forward again, silver light flashing as it exuded an aura of death. Seeing this, Blood Slaughter quickly rolled awkwardly on the ground to avoid the attack. Although he managed to dodge the leopard's charge, he was still struck by its tail, which was as hard as an iron whip. Puff. The silver-horned drake leopard's tail struck Blood Slaughter's chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His fierce gaze weakened significantly. After enduring 2 attacks from the leopard, he was heavily injured. These wounds were far worse than those he suffered during his earlier battle with Lu Ming and the others. If this continues, I'll be killed by this silver-horned drake leopard for sure. Blood Slaughter gritted his teeth and glared venomously in the direction of Chen. But suddenly, he froze, realizing that the young man who had been lying there was now gone. Chen had escaped without him noticing. You little bastard! The moment I catch you, you'll beg for death. Blood Slaughter's face turned ashen with rage, his mind raging with curses. However, as he lost focus, the silver-horned drake leopard struck again. It flashed across the ground like lightning, its sharp claws leaving a deep wound on Blood Slaughter's body, the intense pain making him dizzy. Damn beast! Blood Slaughter cursed under his breath, a strange red light flickering across his face. His eyes turned vicious as he quickly leapt back, then rapidly formed hand seals. A violent surge of spiritual energy erupted from his body, accompanied by the sound of distant thunder. Boom! A thunderclap shook the air, and Blood Slaughter spat out more blood. His previously weakening aura suddenly spiked, and his speed increased drastically, turning into a blur as he desperately fled in another direction. Roar! The silver-horned drake leopard growled fiercely, its body transforming into silver light as it relentlessly pursued. The two of them tore through the forest, with Blood Slaughter silently groaning in his heart. The method he used to release spiritual energy had greatly damaged him, and the aftereffects were severe. But with the leopard relentlessly on his tail, did he have any other choice? If he couldn't shake off this silver-horned drake leopard, he would die for sure. The chase continued for what felt like an eternity, with Blood Slaughter coughing up blood 5 times. His face, once dark and grim, was now as pale as a ghost, and the weakness from within made his head spin. But just when it seemed like he couldn't endure any longer, something happened that gave him a slight reprieve. After around 10 minutes of intense pursuit, the silver-horned drake leopard finally slowed down. It stopped and, with a loud roar, turned around and walked off. Blood Slaughter, seeing the leopard give up, dared not stop immediately. He kept running for a few more minutes before rolling into a patch of grass, his body collapsing in exhaustion. Lying there, Blood Slaughter felt completely drained. His spiritual energy was almost exhausted, and he gasped heavily. Looking at his numerous injuries, he wanted to cry in despair. Who would have thought that chasing down a mere spirit movement realm brat would end up like this? Even Lu Ming and the others couldn't have achieved this. Little bastard, I won't let you go. Blood Slaughter ground his teeth in fury, his voice dripping with malice. Whoosh! Just as those words left his mouth, his hair stood on end. Years of life and death battles had made him instinctively tilt his head. Swish! A cold gleam shot out from the forest behind him, slicing past his head. The sharp light left a deep gash on his face. This sudden attack caused Blood Slaughter to change expression. He roared, "Who's there?" "The one you most want to see." A clear laugh echoed from the forest, and a figure slowly walked out. With a tall frame and a handsome face, the person wore a brilliant smile. It was Mu Chen. "You little bastard, you dare show up?" Blood Slaughter shouted as he saw Mu Chen emerge from the woods. Mu Chen gave him a half-smile, his spiritual energy slowly rising around him. His black eyes held no trace of amusement. Instead, they were filled with coldness. "What do you want, kid? Although I'm in a bad state right now, if it comes to a desperate fight, you probably won't survive," Blood Slaughter said, his voice rising in urgency. "Between us, we've never crossed paths before. How about this? Let today's events be forgotten," Mu Chen said, pausing in his steps and furrowing his brow. "You truly won't make trouble for me again?" Blood Slaughter immediately replied, "I can barely take care of myself now." "You have a point?" Mu Chen hesitated for a moment before nodding slightly. Blood Slaughter's heart leaped with joy, but before his excitement could show, a mocking smile curled at Mu Chen's lips. "But I still really want to kill you." Swish! Mu Chen's figure suddenly shot forward like a bolt of lightning, spiritual energy surging wildly within him. Black radiance flared around his clenched fists, and faintly, 2 black light seals emerged. "You little bastard, you just don't know what's good for you. You're asking for death." Seeing Mu Chen charging at him, Blood Slaughter's eyes turned vicious. He forced what little spiritual energy remained in his body into his arms, letting out a low growl before thrusting them forward like twin spears. Sinister death seal. Mu Chen's fists clenched tightly as he roared inwardly. The 2 black light seals suddenly erupted with a blinding dark glow, exuding a domineering and violent aura. Boom! The 4 fists collided with a deafening impact. The ground beneath them was ripped apart, grass and soil flying in all directions. A shockwave of spiritual energy burst forth, sending both fighters hurtling backward, each coughing up a mouthful of fresh blood. Mu Chen barely landed before springing forward again without the slightest hesitation. His body shot out like a panther, and with a flick of his wrist, a powerful suction force surged forth. His dagger, previously thrown, instantly flew back into his grasp. Swish. Blood Slaughter's movements had become sluggish. Mu Chen closed the distance in a flash, a chilling glint flashing in his dark eyes as the dagger in his hand traced a swift arc, straight toward Blood Slaughter's eyes. A spray of blood burst forth. A piercing, agonized scream rang out. Blood Slaughter flailed his arms wildly in a desperate attempt to strike Mu Chen down, but Mu Chen sidestepped effortlessly, slipping behind him. The dagger in his hand, as swift and deadly as a viper, plunged straight into the vital point on Blood Slaughter's back. The entire blade sank in. Blood dripped continuously from the dagger. Blood Slaughter's crazed thrashing came to an abrupt halt, his body stiffening before slowly collapsing. His pale face remained frozen in disbelief. A mighty expert at the late spirit wheel stage had actually fallen at the hands of a mere spirit movement stage youth? As Blood Slaughter hit the ground, Mu Chen's legs gave way slightly, and he slumped down, gasping. A metallic taste welled up in his throat before another mouthful of blood sprayed from his lips. After resting for a moment, Mu Chen gritted his teeth and crawled toward Blood Slaughter's corpse. His hands searched the body with practiced efficiency. He had nearly lost his life in this fight, so there had better be some spoils of war to make up for it.